How can we establish ethical standards to ensure AI is integrated into our lives in a responsible manner?
A favorite quote of mine from a mentor, Daniel Schmachtenberger, is you can't have the power of gods without the wisdom, love, and prudence of gods. When you match power with wisdom, love, and care, basically, you live in a stable society. But if you decouple power from the amount of care that's needed to wield that power, you are going to end up in dangerous scenarios. Think of it like a biosafety level 4 laboratory, where you have a laboratory that has this crazy power to develop pathogens that could spread around the whole world and be very dangerous. But you don't want that lab to be running the safety practices of your dentist's office. Like you probably want the people in the big balloon suits, you know? And so we have to make sure we're matching the safety practices with the level of wisdom, love, prudence, and care with the level of power distributing. The thing that worries me about generative AI is that we're rolling out all of this new power that's going to affect so many different aspects of our society, and we're not coupling or binding that power to what level of care is required. And that's really the principle that I think we need to attend to. But I'd love, Audrey, if you disagree with any of that or want to add something.
Yeah, totally. And the point we made earlier about the liability clauses and the incentive toward bridging clauses is exactly to make a competition work on a level of who is more careful than the other.
Yes,
not
exactly.
just who is more powerful than the other. I think that's the narrative frame we're basically missing from the first contact, and it's very sorely needed in the second contact.
Just to link a couple concepts here, because this was profound for me when I kind of first realized it. Part of being caring is actually caring about the whole. How whole can your perspective be? How all-encompassing? And if you think about what externalities are a failure of seeing the whole, because the premise of an externality is you're not accounting for something. Your vision is missing something. You have the power of gods of Zeus, and you bump your elbow and you just accidentally scorch the Amazon because your level of awareness didn't match the level of your power. And so when I think about a competition for care, it's a competition for how much you can be with the whole. Because part of the problem of any incentive or maximizing for GDP or even minimizing CO2 or increasing attention or engagement is that you're competing for a narrow incentive. And any narrowly defined metric, by definition, is not reflective of the whole thing. And so one of the challenges that we face is how do we reorient society to be competing for the care for the whole? Because when we have the power to actually shape the entire biosphere with our whole energy economy, we have the power to shape the entire information sphere of the whole world with our attention economy, digitally mediated by social media. We have to have those systems care for the same level of wholeness that they are impacting. And that really is, I think, the central principle.
Yeah, definitely. And just as a care relationship between parent and child requires whenever the child cries, the parents respond in a immediate fashion, so would this listening as skill need to work so that when the generative AI company detect that there is actually somebody crying, somebody being harmed by the injustice that their system is propagating, we need to measure how quickly is this concern heard and how quickly is the realignment, that is to say the tuning of the systems going to happen. Like, is it within minutes, within hours, within days? And if the answer is within years, then we have a real problem.
Right. And that would reflect the fact that there are harms that are accruing that are not being accounted for, meaning that there's a harm showing up in the whole that's not seen by the whole. There's a gap, essentially, in the amount of care that we're able to provide compared to that we need to provide. So I totally love that. And that's why your work is so important, because you're using technology to be able to augment that so we can better close that complexity gap that you're not. One metaphor I sometimes use is, if you push a button and it impacted 10 dimensions of reality. So I push a button and then there are 10 dimensions of reality that are different. But then my solutioning only happens in 3 dimensions. So I'm like trying to do cleanup in the ocean and I'm trying to clean up the air. But it turns out when I pushed the button, I was impacting 7 more dimensions that I couldn't see. Those 7 dimensions are going to accrue over time and create more fragility or toxicity or pollution. And I feel like the kind of what we need to do, what your work is showing, is how do we increase the dimensionality of care to match the dimensionality of power and using technology. So it's not an anti-technology conversation. You're really showing how to do it with technology.
Right, exactly. It's like in a freshly frozen ice sheet of a river or something, and we were crossing it. We want to pay attention, of course, to the brittle parts so that we don't all fall into the frozen river. But we want to do it in a way that's decentralized, meaning that each person that is on the river's different spots somewhere, we need to have some sort of communication so that anyone who discovered vulnerabilities, right, in the ground that we're treading, notify everybody. And this is like dimensional scouting so that people can understand what's the most existentially riskful. And then everybody pay attention and take care of that. And so the ability to sound the alarm and the ability to pay attention and to take care of each other, I think is paramount in this day and age. Yeah.
And one last thing, which is directing attention to repair it before those who could take advantage of those things. I think about like bug bounty programs and security systems where like we want to make sure that those who discover a vulnerability in the thin ice of the iPhone security system asymmetrically point attention to those who can repair and care for that area rather than those who would exploit it. And wanting to make sure in AI systems, we want to extend the analogy that there's more power or at least privileged power going to the repair and care rather than to the people who could exploit those vulnerabilities.
Right. The most careful should win the prize.
Hi, I'm Tristan Harris, a co-founder of the Center for Humane Technology, and I'll see you on TaiwanPlus.
Hello, I'm Audrey Tang, Taiwan's digital minister. See you on TaiwanPlus.